I used to believe love faded like an old photograph, slowly, gently, losing color over time. But that belief shattered the night my wife locked our bedroom door without a word. It wasn't after an argument or a fight, just an ordinary Tuesday. I came back from brushing my teeth, reached for the handle, and it didn't turn. A quiet click from the other side told me everything I didn't want to know. I knocked, unsure, toothbrush still in my hand. Her voice came through the door, calm, distant, almost rehearsed. "I just need space, Howard, don't take it personally." I didn't yell or plead. I just stood there staring at the wood grain, realizing that somewhere between routine and silence, I'd stopped being her husband and become a stranger sharing her house. That night, I lay on the couch again. No blanket, no kiss goodnight, no warmth except for the dog curling beside me like he understood what was happening. In the morning, sunlight filled the kitchen as if nothing had changed. She poured herself coffee, scrolling through her phone. I asked quietly, "Is something wrong?" She didn't even look at me. "Howard, you're too emotional. I'm not your therapist. I don't owe you intimacy." She said it gently, almost clinically, and that was what hurt the most. There was no anger, just detachment, the kind that comes from someone who has already decided they're done. For years, I believed effort could fix everything. If I worked harder, said I love you more, did the chores faster, she'd notice. But love can't be rebuilt by one person. Her body was still in the house, but her heart had moved out months ago. So I went quiet. No arguments, no pleading, just silence. 3 days passed, like ghosts slipping through the same walls. I was polite, calm, helpful. And that silence began to bother her. She started watching me, asking small questions, glancing at my phone, testing my mood. That's when I realized she didn't want me, but she still needed control. And in that silence, truth started whispering. I saw the signs I'd ignored. Late-night phone calls in the garage, new perfume, lipstick on a Tuesday, heels for errands. I wasn't looking for betrayal, but when someone locks you out of their world, you can't help but notice who they've let in. The confirmation came by accident. One morning, Delaney borrowed my car because hers needed gas. Later that day, when I went to grab my laptop from the passenger seat, I saw it, a crumpled wine bar receipt, time-stamped 11:48 p.m. That was the same night she'd told me she was helping her sister pack. Delaney never drank wine, ever. I tried to convince myself there was an explanation, some innocent reason, but then I noticed something else on the floor mat. A navy blue tie. Not mine. I hadn't worn a tie in a year. It carried a faint scent of cologne I didn't recognize. Confident, warm, expensive. Everything I wasn't. That night, I folded the tie neatly and placed it on her pillow. When she saw it, she froze for half a second, then said calmly, "Why are you putting trash on the bed?" That was the moment I realized the truth. She didn't even respect me enough to lie convincingly anymore. I wasn't her husband. I was background noise. I didn't confront her. Instead, I began to prepare. No shouting, no drama, no begging for honesty. I just started paying attention. I took notes, calls she took in the garage, receipts that vanished, messages she typed with her back turned. I bought a cheap voice recorder and slipped it beneath the couch cushion where she always whispered at night. 2 nights later, I listened to it in my car. Her voice came through clear. "He still thinks I'm helping Margot with her divorce," she laughed. "Meanwhile, I'm the one having all the fun." Then a man's voice replied, deep and confident. Her response cut deeper than any betrayal. "He's too emotional to leave. He'd probably write me a sad poem and make tea." I didn't cry. I didn't even feel rage, just an empty coldness that settled into my chest. That night she came home late again, pretending she'd been comforting her sister. I smiled, offered her tea, and said nothing. Let her think I was still the same passive husband. But behind that smile, I was working quietly. I started making copies of documents, bank records, everything that mattered. I moved half our savings into a personal account I had opened years ago and never touched. I met with a lawyer under a different name. No revenge, just strategy. She wanted chaos. I gave her silence. She wanted control. I gave her distance. The night she claimed she was going to a late yoga session, I simply nodded, though I already knew the truth. Her friend Shelby had texted me earlier that day about fixing her porch light next week. No mention of yoga. So I waited until Delaney left, then followed her at a distance. She didn't drive to a gym. She turned into a small lot behind an unfamiliar apartment complex. 10 minutes later, a man pulled up. I watched her open his passenger door, lean in, and kiss him like she'd done it 100 times. I didn't take pictures. I didn't need proof anymore. Not for her, only for myself. That kiss ended every excuse I'd made in my head. She hadn't drifted away because of stress or distance. She had simply chosen someone else. I drove home before they noticed. When she came back later that night, I pretended to be asleep on the couch. She kissed my forehead and whispered, "Thanks for being so understanding." That was her final mistake. Because now, I understood everything. From that moment, I stopped being her safety net. I became a ghost in the house she once claimed to love. I didn't fight or argue. I simply started preparing my exit. While she was laughing into her phone, I was gathering what mattered. Evidence, documents, bank transfers, keys, freedom. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. So I waited for the right morning. A Thursday. I woke early, turned off the alarm before it rang, and left quietly. No note, no suitcases. Just an envelope I placed on the kitchen counter. Inside were divorce papers, photos of her and the man from the parking lot, proof of her lies, and a single handwritten line. "You're free now." By the time she woke, I was miles away. She texted me at first. Small things like, "Where are you?" and "This isn't funny." Then panic set in. "What did you do with the money?" Not one message about love or us. Only control, only fear. I stayed at a cabin my late uncle had left behind. Quiet, dusty, and perfectly empty. For the first time in years, I could hear myself think. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just breathed, slowly, deeply, like someone learning to exist again. Days later, she found out where I'd gone. She showed up at my sister's house demanding answers. My sister handed her the same envelope I'd left behind. Delaney read the papers in silence, then sat on the porch, staring at the ground for what felt like hours. She hadn't expected me to leave. She'd mistaken my gentleness for weakness. When the divorce went through, she tried to claim emotional abuse. But every lie fell apart. I had kept records of everything. Dates, receipts, messages, recordings. My lawyer said the moment her face changed in court was like watching a mask collapse. In the end, I kept the house, the savings, and more importantly, my peace. Months later, I started hiking near the cabin. That's where I met Elle. She was walking her dog, wrestling with a stubborn thermos lid and muttering to herself. I offered to help, and she laughed. It was a real laugh, not the hollow one I'd gotten used to. We talked for hours. No games, no masks, just two people figuring life out again. For the first time in years, I felt like someone worth being loved, not fixed. So if there's a message in all this, it's simple. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness. It's the strongest, quietest act of self-respect there is. Love shouldn't make you feel small, or shut out, or locked behind a door you don't have the key to. When I left, I didn't lose her. I found myself.